Welcome everyone to the next session of the GMAT. We are going to talk about reading comprehension from the OG13. So let's get to work. Why would somebody want to know how much you can understand a passage? Okay, well, the purpose of reading comprehension is that the test makers want to test your ability to comprehend text, simple and complex text, things that you don't like to read and things that you do like to read. They want to test your ability to comprehend intended meaning, whether you can read between the lines or not. They want to test your understanding of standard usage of English without specifically asking for meanings of words like in other tests. Okay, they're not going to ask you what does dependent mean, but they are going to find out if you know the meaning of the words by using simple questions. Okay, so how do you approach RC questions, reading comprehension questions? Well, this is something that is counterintuitive. A lot of people like to read the question first and then look at the passage, but that's an easy way to do it, but that will never get you beyond, let's say, 650 level. It may on a very lucky day get you to a good score on the verbal, but that's not going to be a repeatable trend. Okay, and don't just say that, oh, I just need one day to do it. On the actual GMAT, the tests are the questions are getting tougher. Okay, so the actual approach that actually works for you, for anybody, is do the thing that the test makers want you to do, and that's read the whole passage. Okay, read it once with full concentration, grasp the meaning of the whole passage using whatever techniques you deem fit, whether you like to write down points, whether you just like to keep things in mind and fight with them and wrestle with them and get a conclusion, or whether you like to do things like me, like I create mind maps or drawings which tell me about the main idea and how supporting ideas and sub-supporting ideas are organized in a passage. Okay, so the approach is, first you need to read the whole passage. Okay, you need to be able to look for directional words like also, but, however, during your reading of the passage. Okay, so that you know that here is point 1, here is point 2, and the but used between point 1 and point 2 means that point 2 is going to talk about something that is opposite or nearly different, very different from point 1, right? So do that. Look for conclusion words like therefore, so that, etc. You don't need to cram these things, but you just need to know and look for conclusion words. Once you do that, you would be able to know where a conclusion for a supporting idea for the main idea of the sub-supporting idea lies. Okay, and there will be a lot of conclusions within the passages. Okay, only one would be the main idea, but the rest of them would be supporting ideas, sub-supporting ideas, things that you need to know and things that you don't need to know. Okay, third, look for the author's perspective and tone. What I mean is that if I asked you what will the author say if I said this, whatever it is, some idea related to the passage to him or her, what would the author say? You need to be able to tell me straight to my face. The author would be very happy to say this, the author would be very sad to say this, the author would defend this idea, the author would refute this idea, the author would do this very, very emotionally, the author would do this in a nonchalant way, the author would be equivocal. Whatever it is, you should be able to tell me what the author's perspective and tone would be. Okay, if I said something to the author, if I asked the author something. Okay, this is the approach to RC questions. This is what we are going to follow, and this is an example, a mind map that I created for the first question, for the first passage of RC in the OG13. Yes, I am solving the OG13 questions, and pretty soon you'll get a review from me. So this is what the mind map looks like. Schooling of fish is the main idea. Why fish school? We want to find out why fish school. Okay, why they stick together. Obviously there is a theory A and there is a theory B. Then theory B has two sub theories, sub explanations, rather explanations. And so one is that predators can't decide, let's say, which fish to attack, and the other one is predators can't decide due to sensory confusion. Whatever it may be, this mind map represents the whole passage, and the passage may be 350 words, 400 words, but this is what represents that passage. Okay, so moving on, these are the types of questions asked on the GMAT as far as reading comprehension questions go. These are the things that are going to be asked. This, I know this, and I'm telling you this not out of experience but out of the OG 13. Okay, so the test makers say we are going to talk about the main idea. We are going to ask you what the main idea is. Okay, we are going to talk about the supporting ideas. What that means is we want you to read the whole passage so that you understand what the crux of it is. Once you understand the crux of it, you will know what the main idea is. Once you know the main idea, we want you to look for the supporting ideas. Because you have read the whole passage, you will know which are the supporting ideas and which is the main idea. Okay, and we want you to understand the passage in such a way that if we asked you what do the first 2 points written in the passage, what conclusion they what conclusion what could you conclude from the first 2 points given in the passage, right? First 2 points, first 2 ideas given in the passage. So you would be able to infer things very easily, very correctly. My favorite types of questions are the inference questions, because a lot of people get them wrong, and if you master these kind of questions, you would be in the 700 league definitely. And the fourth one is applying information to a context outside of the passage itself. These kinds of questions ask you like, let's say, these kinds of questions ask you that this is what is given in the passage. Point 1 is given, fact 1 is given in the passage, fact 2 is given in the passage, and then something has been concluded. Where else is the same kind of thing applied? Okay, if you are talking about fishing, let's say the business of fishing involves senior management, middle management, and lower level management, or somebody, and supervisors, and then people on the fishing boats, right? And so where else is the same kind of context, same kind of information, where else the same kind of structure is used? So, and then I would give you the example of a sports team management, or a company, or a village, and then you would be able to decide, oh, okay, a company has the similar kind of structure. There is senior management, middle management, then supervisors and people working under them, right? This is applying information to context outside of the passage itself. Then we talk about the logical structure. Logical structure means that the questions would be something of the sort that what does this kind of structure mean? That premise 1 is given, then something is given to refute that premise, and then a conclusion is given. That is the kind of logical structure followed. Why is that logical structure followed? What does the author try to do? What is the author trying to do? Okay, so those sorts of things are logical structure questions. Then there are obviously style and tone questions. The styles may be very different. The author may be excited, the author may be defending an idea, the author may be refuting an idea, the author may be just using rhetoric, the author may be equivocal. Whatever the way the author has presented information, that style and tone you need to understand. Okay, very important. So these are the types of questions that are asked on the GMAT. Now we are going to talk about these things. Okay, elimination we are going to talk about. Why are we talking about elimination? Because that is what you need to do. You need to follow the process of elimination. That is what I said in the very first video. Okay, it applies across the GMAT, so across the various sections of the GMAT. Here are the techniques employed by the test makers to force you to pick a wrong answer choice. Why would they force you to pick a wrong answer choice? Because that is what they want to do. They are test makers, right? The first thing that they might do is they may misdirect you. What that means is, let's say there are two sub points, and point A and point B, sub point A and sub point B. Okay, the question asks about sub point B, but the answer choice talks about sub point A, right? So that is the sort of misdirection. What that will do is that will confuse you. You may just mark that answer because ultimately it's correct, right? Because it's in the passage, but that's not how the GMAT works, right? So misdirection is about talking about a different supporting idea contained within the passage than the one which is discussed in the question stem. Okay. Second thing is incorrect analysis inference. Well, this is a very common sort of thing. Certain premises are given, evidence is given, examples are given, and then the wrong conclusion is drawn so from the given facts. This is very common, and if that is happening, you need to understand, okay, the test makers are saying this, does it really say that? Just answer that question and you'll have saved yourself a lot of score, a lot of marks actually. Let's say the third one is half correct answer choices. Right. Half correct answer choices are answer choices which will definitely get you if you don't read the whole answer choice. My approach is obviously to read the passage as a whole in one go. Maybe if it's a tough passage, you do try to go through it the second time, but my approach is also to read the whole question stem and read every answer choice completely. Don't just go for half the answer choice, because half of the in half correct answer choices, half of the answer choice is going to be correct and the rest of the half is not going to be correct. If you just read the first sentence of the question of the answer choice, you will think that you're on the right track, right? And you may just mark it. Don't mark it. Read the whole thing, read the complete answer choice, and you will definitely save yourself a lot of time, right? And then there is the out of context question answer choice, right? Out of context, out of scope answer choice. These are the things that are not really mentioned in the passage, and these are the easiest to eliminate. Let's say the passage is all about cars and how cars are sold, and then somebody is talking about pollution in the answer choice. That's not what the passage was about. It was about how to sell cars, let's say, and so there was no talk of pollution, right? So that sort of thing is out of context, out of scope. The fifth choice, the fifth kind of technique used by the test makers, the fifth kind of answer choice used by the test makers to force you to pick a wrong answer, is the numerically incorrect answer choice. Okay, what that means is they are going to use incorrect conclusions. They're going to draw incorrect conclusions from false numbers and percentages. Okay, maybe they are going to talk about point B, okay, and give some numbers or percentages, but those numbers and percentages don't really apply to the whole set, complete set. They just talk about point B, okay, but somehow they are going to force you to think that it is talking about the whole set, the whole passage. Okay, this was a common method to confuse you by interchanging percentages with whole numbers. That is also another way to do it. I might just say, oh, 45% of the women are doing this, and then I might just say, and so that means that 100% of the people are doing something else, right? So that sort of misdirection, it's a combination of misdirection and incorrect analysis, right? Numerically incorrect answer choices. But let me tell you, I am telling you this fifth point, but the test makers are already on us. If you look at if you talk to a lot of people, and if you look at the kind of questions that have been coming in on the latest GMAT tests, you would see that people are getting tricked, because, well, at first they used to use numericals, they used to use numbers and percentages to confuse you. Then everybody found out that they use numbers and percentages to confuse us, right? So the test makers have now decided to use numbers, but they are not confusing you anymore. So you need to be very careful of the numerically incorrect answer choice, because it might not be incorrect now. Okay, this is how the test is evolving. The sixth one is direction changes. Direction changes are kind of like misdirection, except in the beginning they may be talking about the right point. They keep talking about the right point, and then somehow they get to the wrong sub point, somehow duping you into believing the answer choice is not wrong. And while you are eliminating, if something is not wrong, you keep it, right? And ultimately, if you are stuck between, let's say, choice B and choice D, and choice B is the direction changer, you might just pick it, 50-50 chance. So you need to be careful about that. Okay, so with all of the above, always eliminate the answer choice. Never just look at the answer choices and mark your correct answer. That's not the way to do it. Okay, very important point. And avoid extreme words like never, always, forever, etc. On the answer choices. They are usually wrong. So with that, the elimination tips are given, and some other tips: read a lot of good text if you want to improve reading comprehension. Obviously, anybody knows that, but what you need to do is read the editorials of national and international newspapers, the New Yorker and all of those, right? And when you're doing reading comprehension questions, don't worry about speed. To quote the OG13, remember that comprehension, not speed, is the critical success factor when it comes to reading comprehension questions. Okay, so you need to remember that. And remove the misconception that sentence correction is what you need to focus on all the time. A lot of people keep focusing on sentence correction, but ultimately what I'm going to tell you is that sentence correction is just 1/3 of the verbal section, and even with tons of practice, you can never be sure of getting 100% on the sentence correction questions. Okay, I mean, you can never be sure of getting all of the sentence correction questions right, but you can be sure of getting 100% of the RC questions right, and that is something that you need to know and remember. Okay, and finally, all you need to do is practice reading a lot of tough material and practicing official questions. Okay, practice with at least 10 to 20 passages using the same approach that I have given you. You first read the whole passage, and then once you've read the whole passage and you've grasped everything, and then you make sure you stay on the lookout, you be on the lookout for the various things that the test makers use to confuse you, the various techniques, the various answer choices that the test makers use to confuse you, and then you just get your answer, get to your correct answer by eliminating, right? The process of elimination. So that's it from me. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next class.